Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's time to look ahead to the props for Week 14 in the NFL, and who better to talk about it with than these guys with the highest hair they could find to offset my lack of hair. It's the Welsh, everybody. Chris Welsh, and of course, a Undertaker himself, Andrew Erickson. As we proceed to Week 14, a lot of teams are missing this week, but we still have a lot of bets to make regardless. And speaking of those bets, if you're looking for the guy's best bet, well, you better download the app, because these two yahoos are putting their best bet on there every single week. It's secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. But if you have the app, you can see it for yourself. Their best bet of the week for Week 14, along with a lot of our special analysts. And I want to emphasize the term special here, because that's what we are. But an entertaining game last evening, at least the second half of it, for some of us, maybe less for others. Got the over. That's all I cared about. 2 thumbs up. I don't know how Christian Watson didn't have a touchdown with 114 yards.
How about Jaden Reed not having a catch? A singular catch. A singular play.
He did drop a pass.
He did drop one. But you know what?
Target.
I'm not going to make this about me and Jaden Reed and him costing me a lot of money. We're not going to do that.
Are.
I am sick for my boy Erickson right here, because Erickson and I were talking yesterday. We were going through some stuff, we were in rosters, and then right before the game, he goes, "I got this parlay." And I'm like, "What's the parlay?" He sends me the parlay, and I'm like, "Buddy, this is a lot." Erickson,
74 legs.
Here are the legs to it. He needed anytime touchdown, Gibbs and Montgomery, smash. He needed I think it was J-Mo yards, smash. Jacobs rushing yards, smash. Over, smash. Last leg, Jordan Love passing touchdowns, which he hits, and then it gets called back on a penalty, and he lost that. What was the number on that leg, on that whole thing?
Did you have a chance to cash out of it? Because you should have when you hit all the other ones, Erickson. Like, with 2 minutes left, you still had a viable one because Jordan Love was going to touch a football again. Why didn't you cash out?
Because life's too short to cash out, Joe.
What was the money?
No,
What were the odds?
Take the money.
So
This is...
I need the odds. What were the odds on that?
I don't know. It was like plus 1,600 or something. Yeah.
That's it? I would have thought it was even higher.
No, that was obtainable. That makes me sick. I was like sitting there and I was like, well, you know, I'm going to lose. And I did hit my bets, by the way. I hit all my bets, but like I have a bigger fantasy thing going on with Jaden Reed needing him. But I was like, all right, whatever. I'm a loser and everything sucks. But Erickson's going to smash this. And it's Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns, 1 Jordan Love passing touchdown, which you hit. I was sick for you. Sick for you.
Yeah.
Well, the bank account was fine because I had the Tim Patrick anytime touchdown, which cashed. So that was good.
The Tim Patrick renaissance I was not looking for.
It's not only the Tim Patrick renaissance. You think about this, right? A couple years ago, the Broncos had Patrick, Cortland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy. And all these guys are just like thriving without Russell Wilson.
They're balling. Also, shout out to the best bet.
In all fairness, hold on. They're also thriving without Hackett as a coach and some other nonsense they've had. Like they were in some tough situations there. Russell Wilson was part of it, but he wasn't the only part there.
It was an elite trio, and I'm glad to see they're all doing well. Very happy for them all.
But shout out to the best bets, because I do believe when you guys do check out the best bets, Erickson had Sam Laporta receiving yards on the Betting Pros app. Right when you open it up, you just hit your picks feed, and then bam, Erickson's face is right, and he's just like, Laporta, and he had it right there for you the whole time, and it would have smashed if you had bet it. So Betting Pros app, like Joey said.
There you go. All right, let's get to the prop bets for Week 14. Let's start with you, Welsh. You've got an Eagle on your mind. It ain't Saquon, it ain't Hurts, it ain't A.J. Brown. So who is it?
We are going Devonta Smith, and Devonta Smith has been hurt, which kind of stinks, so just in general for him. But he was back in full practice this week. There's still some questions overall. Now, here's been a tricky thing. Well, first off, if you don't have Goddard, and Cal Quintera's out there, but Goddard, that's a good thing for Devonta Smith. But Devonta Smith's receiving yards has been ticking down. It was up at 49, went down to 48. It's 47 before I checked this show. And it's kind of jumping in my head because projections are pretty favorable for him. It's right around 60. But then, as I was digging around, I found this, and I love it. I have not bet this all year on this show. We are going with a longest reception for Devonta Smith because it is sitting at 19.5. This season, he has gone over that 6 of 9 games. One of the games that he missed, he hit 19 yards. So it's going over, like the yards are kind of coming down. Projections are going over. I just need one play for Smith. I just need one nice big play for him, even if we're worried. The other thing is, if you check out our boy Deepak Chona, and you're talking about injuries, there is an increased risk of Devonta Smith like re-injuring, I think it was a hamstring, having a re-injury, about 15%. So I'm taking that equation out, and I'm looking for one catch of 20 yards for Devonta Smith, who has hit the 6 of 9 games, and that is it against the Carolina Panthers. I love this one. Devonta Smith, 19.5 longest reception over.
All right. Speaking of wide receivers, you've got one here, Erickson, on tap, who is dealing with a hip issue as of Friday. We'll see if he plays or not. But if he does give it the college try, the Undertaker might strike again.
Yeah, Malik Nabers under 73.5 receiving yards. I don't know what this line is going to be if Nabers plays, if he doesn't play. I'm not exactly sure what his situation is. But you know how many times he's gone over this number in his last 6 games? 0. Zero. I don't know where this number's coming from. Like, I don't get it. Like, his quarterback play is horrible. He hasn't had 73.5 receiving yards in any of his last 6 games. So at this point, we've seen enough of Malik Nabers with this horrible quarterback situation where it's going to take him 20 targets to get to this number. And the times he's come the closest, he's still been under 69 receiving yards and 71 receiving yards. So throwing in the factor that he is also banged up, if he plays in this game, I'm just going to pound the under on his receiving yards prop. So under for me on Malik Nabers. I don't really care what the matchup is. Again, I'm strongly on the under in this game overall between the Giants and Saints. I think that on paper, it looks like we get to get a couple smash spots for some of these players, but if the game just duds out entirely, I think we might be disappointed. So I'm going to go under on Malik Nabers.
Didn't he have like 12 catches on the 69-yard thing? Like, he's putting up ridiculous receptions and he's still not getting the yards. There is no yak. There's no air yards. It's just catch fall. And he's like Wandale. He's turned into Wanda Robinson, but just more catches.
You know, I think the Giants have kind of folded up the tents, which is why I'm, curious if he does play at all, because the less guys you have on the field with talent, the more you can have that high draft pick you might want. So watch the situation carefully. But if he does give it a go, I'm with Erickson here on the under, not just from the trend, but also the injury on top of it. So good luck there. Hopefully, fingers crossed he plays, and finger crosses we get the under. All right, let's go to Jerry Jeudy. We mentioned him at the top of the show. Now, look, he's not playing the Denver Broncos this week. So there's a lot of me that wanted to actually bet, and, we're going to come back to this a little later, the touchdown calls later in the program, where I am in on this with you, Welsh. And it is the number of receptions, and you're going the over. I like him for the touchdown. We're going to talk about that later in this game here. But can Jerry Jeudy continue this momentum of what he started of how would I put this? Effort. Yeah, that's it. Effort from Jerry Jeudy on an every down basis. It was fun to watch. Can it happen 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah, I think it's going to. I'm not sure about the touchdowns. It's funny you say that because I was looking at like David and, when they get in the red zone, like I feel like David Njoku just kind of like starts to light up. But Jerry Jeudy has been on it. His reception prop this week is at 4.5. But the juice is starting to pump up. So you might have to look around, go to BettingPros so you can find the best line. Jerry Jeudy has hit this number, this receiving yard prop of over 4.5 receptions, 5 straight games. He had 6 against the Steelers in their last matchup. The Steelers, by the way, have given up this number of over 4.5 receptions to number 1 wide receivers in 4 of the last 6 games. Under Jameis Winston, he's getting a massive amount of targets. Yes, he's got a bigger target on his back, of course, but even PFF wide receiver cornerback matchup ratings, I believe Judy's like the number 3 best. They're going to move him around the line. He's the number 1 target for Jameis Winston. This is a really low number, which maybe is signaling a little bit like he has such a bigger target on his back now that he's going to get more blanket coverage. I just don't buy it because they're going to move him around, and Winston absolutely loves him. I was very surprised. There are quite a few players I wanted lower reception props on this week that, 4.5, Kamara would be an example. I want 4.5. They open up at 5.5. I thought Jeudy, hands down, would have opened up at 5.5. I believe it will push to 5.5 if you wait too long, but you can get plus money. And you know what? I don't even hate that much. But 4.5 is a smash play for me for Jerry Jeudy on receptions.
Wait, I have a question. Again, we have to go back to this receptions, receiving yards. So why the receptions over the receiving yards?
Because he's done 5 straight weeks.
So he's done receiving yards 5 straight weeks too.
Great. Right? Can bet that too.
So do both.
Yeah.
Put them in as a duo. Put them together.
But all right, so I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Put the touchdown with it. I'm going to get a trio too.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate. He hasn't been.
Well, you're the guy playing 8-leg parlays. I mean, why not put the 3 together?
It's a pretty good parlay though.
mean, it is a pretty good parlay.
It was a
but
pretty good parlay.
Actually, I was thinking about parlaying the under on his receptions and the over on his receiving yards, and see if this actually finally comes to a head where we actually have that conversation where the yards hit and the receptions don't. Well, what if Joey Porter Jr. does guard him more? Jerry Jeudy, he hasn't been the target leader on the Denver Broncos. Like, he's been the yardage leader on the Denver Broncos. So that's my only pushback. Again, this may not matter. I think every time we've had this conversation, it literally hasn't mattered.
I was about to say, like,
guys always
every
smash.
time we have pushed this is what happens. I'm with you if this was like 5.5. If it was 5.5 receptions and then the receiving yard total, I don't even know what it is, like 63 yards or something like that. Like, I would push back on it, but I think that's the line. I think 5 receptions is key. And again, he's hit this in 5 straight. He had 6 receptions against the Steelers. This team wants to throw the ball deep. So I think that's a little caveat to maybe other players and other teams out there that, my argument would be you have short line stuff. Judy's not getting the ball deep, or a guy like Joey Porter's covering him deep, and they're throwing little 8-yard in and outs, dink and dunk, and all of a sudden he does a Malik Nabers. This team is a little bit different because they do sling the ball. But again, I kind of think it's relatively irrelevant at 4.5 or the big receiving yards and how much their Steelers giving up massive big plays.
So I want to get that on a shirt.
But if the line, kind of like how you said, if the line does move to 5.5, you would pivot to the yards.
I think I will. Yeah, I got to see what the number is.
It's 69.5, at least is what I'm seeing. Minus 115 towards the over, or 68.5. Sorry.
68.5. I love the 5 receptions even more. I think the yards total is also telling us the receptions. But yeah, I might pivot to I could be honest with you, if it moves to 5.5, unless they give me good plus money, I might move away from the bet, because now I think you're taking off some of that extra upside that we have here in, like, the argument is he's smashing this. Reception smashes it. Steelers give this up. You get to 6. Now that edge has kind of gone away. Now that's a better way to put it. I think I'm losing my edge if the yards go over 70 and the receptions go over 5.5. Not that he won't hit it, but that edge is going away.
All right. We just talked about Jerry Jeudy's renaissance. How about Bryce Young, another guy who seems to be going in a much better direction? Ever since Erickson cut ties with the Panthers, they've been on a streak. So maybe it was you the whole time, Andrew. I'm just saying it's possible when you go back and look at the tape. However, the trend has been strong for them, and it looks like Dave Canales has gotten this team back on track. However, regardless, you're into the under on Bryce Young on 196.5 passing yards. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, because he's facing the Eagles this week. So, like, that's the fade on Bryce Young. Yes, I get that he's been playing much better. He's got his confidence back up, but this Eagles defense is playing at an elite level, number 1 in the NFL. So you look at the quarterbacks that they have played basically since their bye week. No quarterback has hit their closing line passing yards projection. Every single quarterback has gone under their passing yards projection against the Philadelphia Eagles. So given that his projection on BettingPros, a couple other sites have it under 200 passing yards, I think that's where it's going to be. It's going to be under this number here. So I'm just going to follow the trends. Carolina traditionally doesn't also play as well on the road. They haven't scored more than 14 points on the road in any of Young's games this season. So he's been playing at home the last couple of weeks. So I want to keep that in mind. Hostile environment on the road in Philadelphia against this defense. I don't love the spot for Bryce Young. So I think we kind of start to see maybe a little bit more we saw from the beginning of the season. Maybe not that to extent of that poor of play, but I don't think this is a smash spot for Bryce Young and the Panthers.
I am curious to see if it is a bit of a letdown game, though, because last week was such a hyped game between them and the Ravens, and they came out with a victory that sometimes you see these teams kind of come out a little sluggish and don't take opponents seriously, like the Carolina Panthers.
Only thing I just want to say, though, with that is that offensively, it was kind of piss poor. Like, Jalen Hurts could not throw the ball. I think they need to come out and reestablish that they can throw the ball and that they can be a big offense. So I get what you're saying from the competitive standpoint.
And last time I checked, Nick Sirianni always makes stupid decisions. For the most part,
but their offense looks so bad.
I'm not saying the Eagles are going to lose. Believe me, I don't think they're going to lose this game. But don't be shocked if the Carolina Panthers yet again are not the doormat in some of these contests. They've got a full complement of healthy wide receivers with Thielen back and Leggett playing and all these guys. So, like, you're in a spot here. They got 2 running backs. They've got bodies. They haven't been worn down by the season as much as some other teams because some of these guys are either emerging or haven't played. So week 14 in the NFL is kind of the dregs. It's like the dog days of August in baseball season, but not so much for the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young had a couple weeks off. Adam Thielen just came back. Leggett hasn't been a big contributor in the first part of the season. You just got Jonathan Brooks back a few weeks ago, starting to work into that rotation. I'm just saying, let's keep a close eye on that. I just want to
add to that real quick is I was desperately trying to find an under that I just loved. and this was the one. But then I noticed Erickson had it, so I had to take it off because mentioning those
there
sites
you go.
projected on a few sites around 170, and against this defense, this was going to be. I have bet this, and this was the under I wanted, but Erickson astutely got it, so I am completely backing this one.
All right, let's continue on to the next prop. And remember, too, you can always find great props with the prop bet cheat sheet, bettingpros.com/props. That's the place you can go, or just download the app and look for the prop bet cheat sheet, because that's where you'll find all of these props we're talking about here. You can sort them by game, you can sort them by position, you can sort them by type. It's very easy to use. And again, you're going to get the fantasy projections next to the actual line numbers, and then of course the best place to bet them all in one spot. So the prop bet cheat sheet is literally the cheat sheet to make you money when you're betting props. So go and do that today, right now, while you're listening to this or watching this. Let's talk about your next one here, Bijan Robinson. And you're looking at the receiving yards, not the rushing yards. Let's talk about this number here. It is 28.5. The Kirk Cousins return to Minnesota. It's going to be a fun one on the docket here to be watching this weekend. So where do you want to go with this Bijan prop?
Yeah, I want to go with the over receiving yards. Bijan over receiving yards is a staple of what we do here on this show. We just haven't locked into it a ton this year. He has hit this in 4 of his last 6 games. But check this out. The 2 misses of 28.5, he had 28 yards. So, I mean, we're talking a half a yard in the 2 misses. Against Minnesota this year, they're giving up only 17 carries on average, 65 yards on the ground to running back. So you're like, hey, you're not taking the rushing yard side. No, because they have been stopping running backs in general. Bijan is going to have to make an impact in the receiving game. And also, we've talked a lot about that narrative of like offensively kind of going back and forth. Minnesota's a really tough team. If this game is going to be that type of shootout, and you're going to have the Falcons even potentially playing from behind, Bijan's just going to have to make that impact in the receiving game. And he has been doing that. I mean, we've had like over 100-yard total offense of yards for multiple weeks for Bijan. So I think this is going to just take it out of trying to establish a massive running game, get him his targets. It's a low total. Kind of always love anything under 30 with Bijan. And we're going to smash the over receiving yards Bijan, 28.5.
All right, next one. Here's another running back. This one's from Erickson. And wouldn't you know it, the Undertaker strikes again. The under on Ken Walker's 54.5 rushing yards. Erickson, walk me through this one.
Yeah, so Ken Walker has kind of been a disappointment this year. He's not ripping off a lot of explosive runs. A lot of it is coming down to the offensive line, not really opening up a lot of space. Again, this is from Next Gen Stats. Walker's been contacted before the line of scrimmage on 54.5% of his rush attempts. That's the highest rate of any running back in the NFL. So he doesn't have a chance. It's really not his fault, but because he's getting tackled and contacted by the line of scrimmage. He's not breaking tackles at nearly as high of a rate. Seattle has major offensive line issues. So we saw this matchup already play out this year against the Arizona Cardinals. Ken Walker rushed for 41 yards. Last week, it was a good spot against the New York Jets. He rushed for 49 rushing yards. So I'm going under Kenneth Walker, 53.5 rushing yards. He's dealing with another injury this week. I don't even know if he's playing at 100%. Maybe we see a little bit more of Zach Charbonnet. So again, he's been under his projection in looking at the prop bet cheat sheet in 4 of his last 6 games. So yeah, I'm just not really excited about Ken Walker. I don't like him a lot in fantasy this week. So going to be taking the under on his rushing yards prop.
Okay, so an under on Ken Walker. We'll see if maybe we can convince Erickson to take an over sometime in this show. Let's go back to you, Welsh. The New Orleans Saints certainly are bereft of weapons at this stage in the season. No more Taysom Hill now too, so he's done. No Olave, no Shaheed. Who's left for the Saints, and how do we bet them?
This is Erickson's favorite. It is Juwan Johnson. We are betting Juwan Johnson, and we are going to go to the receptions. Now, I do want to point something out. His receiving yard prop is very low this week, 31.5. So, Welsh, why would you take receptions and not take the yards? It's because his receptions at 3.5 over is plus 135. In some places, maybe 125. So there's a massive juice bump. That's why I really like that one. 8 of 9 games when a tight end is targeted at least 4 times against the Giants, they catch 4 passes. Last week, Johnson was targeted 7 times and he caught 5 of them. There's no Taysom Hill. And one of the big arguing points has been there's just nobody left. This is a Kamara smash spot. I will be honest with you. I had Kamara here yesterday in the rushing yard prop, but the rushing yards are going up. It's around 82. His receiving yard prop, It's over like 33 right now. His total yards, it's near 120. You know he's going to get the ball. But last week, they showed us a little bit of that game plan as well, in that they're going to get Juwan Johnson the ball with Taysom Hill out. So I really like this spot if they're going to be trying to move the ball downfield a bit in a pretty decent matchup. He smashed this last week. You can do this against this team. Juwan Johnson, big plus money on the receptions. You want to play it safe and you want to be a little bit invested? Yards are probably safe. It's like 31, but 3.5 receptions, even on those short dunk out type of throws with big plus money. I'm in on him as like a streamy tight end this week. I know Erickson hates him, but I'm going to go Juwan Johnson. Fitzy hates him too. Everybody hates him. Let's go.
I like him on the touchdown prop, I gotta say.
Hey, prediction. Juwan Johnson scores more points than Jaden Reed this week. Book it.
I'll take that one.
Juwan Johnson's had some stinkers, man. Like
he has, but Andrew, I mean, I think we're getting to the point where it is just bare bones. It's MVS and it's him, and we're down to like third string guys.
But hasn't it been like that all year, basically? Like every time they tried to turn to Juwan.
It hasn't, because there's been moments where guys were in and out, and then they kept pivoting and saying, okay, well, we're going to pivot to MVS and Taysom Hill. Now we can't pivot to Taysom Hill anymore. And the one thing with Derek Carr is it's not like he's never made Juwan Johnson useful. Even last week, when Taysom Hill came out of that game, you saw Juwan Johnson get work. He's a decent tight end. The problem is he's playing in the pecking order behind Taysom Hill and all the gadgetry you can do with him when he's on the field. So
but Taysom's not anymore. So that's the positive.
That problem's gone. There's a problem still playing quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and his name is Will Levis. He's a problem for a myriad of different reasons, but let's talk about him here. Erickson, you have a Will Levis prop you want to talk about. So what is it for week 14?
Will Levis is going to go over his passing yards prop, over 211.5 passing yards. And I mean, Will Levis has played pretty well over the last couple of weeks. Ever since everyone's talking about this Bryce Young resurgence.
Better. Let's use the word better.
Okay, Bryce Young's been better. Well, where are all the Will Levis all 22 highlights? He's been playing much better ever since he was benched, or quote unquote. It's funny, actually, on a lot of the Titans broadcasts, they say that he was benched, even though the Titans have been clear that no, he was injured. Like that's why he wasn't playing. But whatever. Yeah, exactly. Injured. So
air quotes injured. Yeah.
It really comes down to the fact that Levis has been playing better. He's been over this number in 3 straight games, and the matchup is divine.
Phenomenal.
Against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are like an historically bad defense. I mentioned this on the Fantasy Pro show when we were talking about Calvin Ridley. The Jaguars defense has allowed the most yards per attempt per dropback and passer rating in the NFL this season. Their EPA allowed per dropback is the second most by any defense in the Next Gen Stats era since 2016, trailing only the 2020 Detroit Lions. This is an historically horrible defense, and Levis has shown me enough the last couple of weeks that this number is way too low. And if there's ever a game where Callahan can, let's build how good can Will Levis actually be? Like, do we need to draft another quarterback? Probably. But at least give Will Levis a shot to show, hey, maybe you should keep me around. Maybe this is a bad decision for them. But I think they're going to let him sling the ball here around because it's a matchup that he can take advantage of. We love Calvin Ridley. Obviously, Nick Westbrook-Akina is going to score another touchdown, making it 9 in 9 games. So I like Will Levis to go over his passing yards prop this week. I think it's also just way too low. I mean, 211.5 passing yards, hit it in 3 straight games. Low. And Jacksonville's a sieve on defense. So
the only negative would be is that you can also run against the Jags. And it's like if they were to establish some type of a running game and it takes it out of his hands. But to your point, I completely co-sign. This was my prediction, if you remember, on the prediction show that we just transitioned. No buy, sell, trade anymore. Erickson, Worm, and myself was I had 250 on Levis with 2 touchdowns as a prediction early in the week. So I love this one.
All right, let's go on with the last ones before we get to the touchdown calls here. Welsh, it's a 49er. I can't believe you're even going this route after, what is this, like self-mutilation at this point? Like, I don't even know what's going on here. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about which one it is and if you're going over or under.
If I hated myself, I would be taking Deebo Samuel receiving yards. That's if I really hated myself. No, if you love yourself, you go Juaun Jennings. Juaun Jennings is love. Deebo Samuel is strife. That's what it goes with. Juwan Jennings, 55.5 receiving yards is the marker this week. And I know everybody's scared. A lot of people are getting like hyper-focused on the shoulder and stuff of Brock Purdy. Last week's game kind of messes stuff up. But, listen, with Juwan Jennings in general, he has been the guy. He has beat this number in 3 of his last 5 games. If you do not count the snow game, which, by the way, he had 5 targets. But if you don't count that, 29 targets in the previous 3 games, not counting the snow game. Now, we just come back over the last 3 weeks in general. This is on fantasy points. He had a 39.9% air yard share, a 35% first read percentage, and Erickson and I were kind of going back and forth about this because I said it's Juwan Jennings week, and he said, well, the Bears and the X receiver. Here's a semi-positive. You've seen Jennings play out of the slot 36% of the time over the last 3 weeks. So they're moving him around. He's the number one target for this team. There's a little bit of question about like how successful they're going to be with running and Garendo and their comfortability. I think that also leads to Debo kind of playing more in the backfield. Bears defense has played okay. I love this spot for Juwan Jennings. I think it's a super low number. He almost hit this last week. I think he had 56 yards in the snow game last week. Juwan Jennings, smash on the receiving yards.
I got to say, I'm getting a little worried about Purdy coming out of this game too at some point. Like I don't think Purdy's healthy. I think he gave it everything he had last week in the snow to try to stay relevant. And then all the injuries to McCaffrey and Mason and everything. And
He was
I don't know, things don't go well.
He's throwing around in practice. I mean, Grant Cohen's out there just being like, "Ooh, that pass was wobbly. Is he healthy?" Like whatever that nonsense. But like Purdy's out there. He's running practices. We're good.
Yeah, for now. How you feeling about that bet we have on out of bounds? You feeling good about
Our
that?
fingernail bet? I feel pretty good. I was able to get you at 2.5 on the spread.
I know. I really should have held out a little. I mean, more for like the 3.5 or 4.5, considering the number was 6.5 when it started.
I am feeling pretty good, though. I do want to point out. This is to your point. There's a wild stat, and God, I'm forgetting who said it. I saw it, so apologies to whatever. No, this wasn't you, but it was Brock Purdy had like the best completion percentage of any quarterback on the road and has the worst completion percentage at home of all quarter. It's like some weird wild stat. He is atrocious at home, amazing on the road. So this works a little counter to what I'm saying here. But my main point is like the offense, it centers around George Kittle a little bit. This is Juwan Jennings. This is a Juwan Jennings matchup here. Juwan Jennings.
All right. Juwan Jennings it is. Let's go. So you got all of the Juwans. You got Juwan Johnson and Juwan Jennings all the same week. Different spelling, but you're all over.
Well, I had to really think about how I was saying it because I was going to say Juwan Johnson here, and I'm very proud of myself.
Well, Welsh does have a funny way of loving Juwan Johnson because he did spell that Juwan's first name wrong incorrectly on the show sheet.
He did.
Oh, yeah, I probably did.
Juaun.
Did I?
How much do you really love him if you can't even get his name right?
I'll fix it for you right now.
Yeah,
you spelled it Juaun.
You swapped the U and the A, I think.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
On the other one. Well, yeah, I spelled Juwan Jennings right, and that's what.
Well, yeah, we know. I mean, you love Juwan.
Well, we know you're going to do that one right. It's Juwan Johnson we're worried about. All right, last one here. Erickson, the minus man for MVP is Josh Allen. The passing yard number is 240.5. You're going over or under this Sunday?
Over. I think that this is where Josh Allen basically cements his MVP status if it's not already in the ground, because you're having Saquon Barkley, I believe, plays earlier because the Carolina Panthers game and the Eagles game is a 1:00 game, and this is a late window game. So you're going to see Saquon Barkley go off against Carolina, and everyone's going to be like, oh, like Saquon's MVP, and then Josh Allen's going to throw for 4 touchdowns and 300 passing yards against the Los Angeles Rams defense. I'm going to tell you the headline from Sunday is going to be, why didn't the Bills build a dome instead of a outdoor stadium? Because you're going to see Josh Allen in the dome go absolutely nuclear, as Derek Brown likes to say. Since week 7, Allen has thrown for
I think he says
nuclear.
I also struggle with the nuclear.
And Juwan's.
And Juwan.
And Jaguars, apparently.
But,
sorry, I quickly spelled it wrong. My bad.
But since week 7, Josh Allen has thrown for 240 plus yards in 4 of his last 6 games. Obviously, in the snow last week, that wasn't the case. But the pass rate over expectation has been positive for Buffalo. So they've really kind of played their spots when it comes to, hey, we want to run the football in this matchup. We want to throw the football in this matchup. I think this is a matchup where they're going to want to throw the football. You look at the Rams secondary, it's absolutely dreadful. Bottom 3 in terms of EPA per dropback or pass attempt on deep balls. I think this is a spot where, like, hey, Josh Allen, like, let's get some momentum with these receivers, with especially some of these new guys that are coming back into the lineup. Amari Cooper really hasn't had that marquee Amari Cooper game. I think that he's going to go off in this spot. So if he's going off, Josh Allen's obviously going to be along for the ride. Hopefully getting Dalton Kincaid back, getting Keon Coleman back. I think this is where they build this passing game that really hasn't had a chance to really hit its stride. I think this is where they started. So I'm going to go over on Josh. I think he's going to have a monster game.
All right, a monster game solidifying his MVP. I'd like that because I got Allen at 3-1 before I got into the plus 125 last weekend, and then the minus this week after the big snow game. So it feels like Josh Allen's to lose, and I hope you're right. I hope this isn't a weird letdown game for them too, where they struggle a little bit and then kind of get it together in the second half. We shall see. Could be a lot of weird football in week 14. I got all the feels, as the kids like to say. I got the feels about the touchdowns too. Let's get to those. And don't forget about the touchdown score report at bettingpros.com/touchdown. If you're looking for an edge in betting touchdowns, and I think that you are, our touchdown score report compares anytime touchdown stats to prop bet odds and projections to help you identify the best anytime touchdown bets on the board. So head to bettingpros.com/touchdown for the latest touchdown prop analysis today. I am going to go with Jerry Jeudy. I'm going to hope that he remembered, hey, when I put effort, I'm a good football player. I used to be really good once upon a time in Alabama. And look at me now. Look, Mom, I'm a wide receiver in the NFL. I'm a big boy. And it's a big number, plus 210. I really like this one. So I'm going to go there. And just to put the knife in the heart of the Welsh, Keenan Allen, plus 150. In fact, I hope he catches 2. And I hope those nails are real pretty for me on Monday when we do Out of Bounds on the Fantasy Pros side of things, because the Caleb Williams fingernail bet is going to be there. The dead coach bounce is real. And Keenan Allen gets in the touchdown against your 49ers. Welsh, where are you going for your touchdown?
Man, if I haven't wanted the Niners to win more now. People don't understand. The bet, by the way, because I don't think we actually said it, is whoever loses has to do a Caleb Williams painted fingernails on Out of Bounds, which is brand new on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel and is incredible with the edits. It's like nothing you've seen on
We're
Fantasy
good.
Pros
the production team is brilliant.
They're brilliant. Yeah. But one of us is going to have painted nails on Monday, so make sure you're tuned into that. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What were we doing? We're doing touchdown calls. Well, I've got a deeper one with the 49ers. I'm actually going to start with that one because you're going Keenan Allen. Remember when I was doing the hate yourself, love yourself type of thing? A little bit of hate myself here because I'm going with Deebo Samuel because he is plus money at plus 175. Why would I do that to myself when he looks like a shell of a receiver? Because it's going to be a running back this week. Everyone is very hyper focused on Isaac Guerendo. Isaac Guerendo is minus money for a scoring touchdown. They have not been able to establish anything with Deebo. They can't do the little end around thing. They can't get any separation deep. So what? Just go straight line in. This is what Deebo has done before. They have no other running backs. And in cases like this in the past, Deebo has been more involved in the running game. To the people that yell, he hasn't been. You might be right. But this is the spot where they will and would do it. So I'm going to guess when the Niners get inside the 5, which there'll be a couple times in this one, they're going to go to not just Guerendo, but they're going to give Deebo an opportunity. He gets a touchdown at plus 175, almost 2-1. My other one of my favorites this week, it's Tyrone Tracy. He is plus money at plus 125. Saints have given up, check this out, 14 touchdowns to running backs this season. 13 are on the ground, and they have given up a touchdown to running backs in 7 of the last 8 games. Tyrone Tracy, mount up.
All right, so there you go. You've got Tracy and Deebo Samuel, Welsh. I mean, Deebo Samuel, again, it's the self-inflicted pain that I worry about.
Masochist.
Or do I check in on you?
Speaking of which, where do we get to my picks?
Okay, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's see
by
how
the way,
you hate yourself
yeah,
there.
hold on. Great call, Erickson. You want to say I'm a masochist? Wait till you get a load of this. Do it.
All right, go ahead.
All right, well, I'll save that one for the last because that is the grand finale. So my first one is Jonathan Brooks, rookie running back for the Carolina Panthers. Half of his touches came in the red zone last week. So if Carolina ends up scoring at any point, I think it's actually going to be Brooks and not Chuba Hubbard that finds the end zone. He can do it as a receiver. He's explosive, so he can rip off a big play. And plus 450, I think that this is more about the chances of Carolina just scoring a touchdown in general versus what his role in the offense actually is. So I think that these odds are just too long for a player that saw a ton of red zone usage last week and looked explosive. So Jonathan Brooks at plus 450, I really like. And then the masochist in me, Kyle Pitts, talking about self-inflicted wounds, plus 320 to score a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. But I'm not paying attention to, Kyle Pitts, the player, he's so bad, he sucks. Yeah, he's not that great. But, I follow the usage. I'm a slave to the numbers. He had 2 targets last week. Where were they? Both in the red zone, right? This is the process. This is why I bet Tim Patrick anytime touchdown, because he had red zone targets before last night's game, and he got 2 touchdowns. So I'm just following the process here with Kyle Pitts. He's facing the Minnesota Vikings. No team has allowed more targets to tight ends all season than the Minnesota Vikings. I love Kirk Cousins in this matchup. You know who's allowed the highest passing touchdown rate versus rushing touchdown rate? The Minnesota Vikings. If they're going to be scoring touchdowns, they're going to be going through the air. So I can see it right now, people. Kyle Pitts rolling their eyes at Kyle Pitts. Well, you know what? This man He's finding the end zone. He may only have one catch, but it's going to be in the end
Dude,
zone.
I was just about to say, he's going to have one catch for 6 yards and a touchdown.
He's gonna
get a win.
He'll have the Mike Evans stat line where he's like 2, 2, and 2.
I love 2-2-2. I love the 2-2-2. That's the best. All right. Drop your touchdown calls below. Who are you going with in week 14? We will love to see you over here. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel of Betting Pros, the fastest growing YouTube channel in the betting space, baby. That's us, because we got you on lockdown, and I'm excited for the rest of December and then into January, man. The college football playoffs, the NFL playoffs. It's going to be good times around these parts. We want you to be with us, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course, wherever you get your podcast, make sure Betting Pros is on that list. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh and the Undertaker, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.